Yeah, wrong. Sorry, I pressed the button and didn't realise I pressed the button. Oh, there it's there. I say, welcome. Oh, that's what I was going to do. Sorry, I'm a bit all over the place because I've just I've just been sorting something, and I'm very excited about what we're going to do tonight. Very excited because there's lots of moving parts. We're going to have lots of polls. We're going to have lots of interaction, and that's better. I can't see a bloody thing. Let's do that. Where are we? Are we settled? Are we? Right. You're wrongin'. Welcome to the Theatre of the Mind. Welcome to Live 302. Welcome to the new mission, Wednesday night's mission, 302. I'll get to your comments in a moment. We've got lots to get through, so I think it might be normally I'll say to you, give me 90 minutes and I'll give you the world. There's lots to talk about tonight. I'm gonna give you clarity in the chaos. Oh, hang on a second. What's happened with me? How bizarre. I know my eyes are shot. I know I can't see a bloody thing with my cataracts, but something went a bit wobbly there. It's yeah, so that's better. So I'm going to clarity in the chaos around meningitis. Clarity in the chaos around hello, it's me, David. I'm back in the papers. Hello, it's me, David. I'm a sir now. I'm a bloody wef puppet. That's what I am. Oh, did I say that out loud? And we're going to talk about other stuff. We're just going to cut through all the brown stuff, man. It's that simple. That's what we do on these lives. It really is that simple. So, Davey Beffin, sorry, Davey. When I get excited, I talk quickly. So now that I'm here, I act professionally, and I shall regulate and enunciate my language, or my speech, rather. So Davey Bevan says, bloody hell, 9 hours early, but evening, Adrian. Evening, Davey. First in the body of the kirk. And please, Davey, if you could, being first, make sure all the starmers are nice and clean. Why do we call the pews the starmers in the body of the kirk? Because they're hard on your derriere. So free Battenberg over there, free altar wine there. There's the piles cushions that obviously will make it a little bit more comfortable. We've heated up the body of the kirk for you tonight. Yes, I know it was sunny today. I know it's the first day of spring on Friday. I know in a week's time the clocks go forward, spring forward, fall back. So everything is quite positive and quite rosy and quite sunny in garden-like, you know, Hinny. Garen Davis, morning, afternoon, evening, Garen. Blimey. Welcome to the body of the kirk, both Garen and Davey. Des Ashton, Des is in the body of the kirk. Good morning. Just into ring my bell. Look forward to the mission 302. Get some clarity in this time of chaos maximus. Oh, very posh, Des. Very posh. And you'll know what I say when I mean thank you. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Cheers, Des. I really do appreciate it. Neil Cunningham. Oh, hello, the wrongregation. You're utter wrong'uns. Watching PMQs today. Oh, did Starmer get a kick in the nuts repeatedly or not? Watching PMQs today made me realise that pleb Starmer hasn't considered just how much of an arse kicking he's got coming in May local elections. He doesn't realise it. And I don't think they dare tell him, but I agree with you, Neil, and welcome to the body of the kirk, by the way. I do believe that he is literally going to kill off the Labour movement. Not the party. He's going to kill that, but it's the Labour movement. Why? Because we don't trust him at all under any circumstances. And I'm in the middle of prepping for an interview I'm going to do on Friday, which for the moment will remain nameless. And then it's going to be my initial interview on something called Decoded Conversations that's coming to this channel soon. And I watched this video, and it was like it's a feeding frenzy. It's like someone's thrown a piece of meat, Starmer, to the piranhas. And they literally just, because they were saying that they're having to go at the Speaker, Hoyle, because when Starmer doesn't answer the question, his job is supposed to get the Prime Minister to answer the questions. So they don't answer any questions. They don't answer anything. It's just theatre, darling. Theatre. They're all clowns. I'm going to tell you about the clowns in just a little while. Sorry, I've just remembered my notes for the clowns are somewhere else. Oh, bagger. So today, some MP stood up and went, oi, 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 that reprobate over there, or was similar. Why doesn't he bloody answer a question? Because he didn't answer a bloody question today. And everybody's in uproar. So it was just, Neil, I agree with you. It was, well, theatre, darling, but it was fabulous theatre. The MPs are very upset with Starmer because he's killing off the political classes. He's killing off the political process. He's killing off the Labour Party. He's killing off the Parliamentary Labour Party. He's killing off the Labour movement. And these morons are sitting around him going, yeah, 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 yeah. They're stuffed. They're done. And after May, there won't be a Labour Party. There'll be an early general election, 2027. Mark my words. They're not going to leave until 2029. There's not going to be any Labour movement left. Anyway, Neil, you've started me off now, man. Les Griffith says, Neil, don't think he cares. He knows he's finished. I wouldn't be surprised if the general election is cancelled. Yeah, you're not allowed to vote. I've decided this is Starmer. I've just decided nobody's allowed to vote ever again because I want to be in charge for the rest of my life. Just don't mention February 14th in Darlington. What do you mean? Rev. I'm just saying. February 14th in Darlington. Why would I be saying that? Can't tell you, because he'll sue me. I see you. GB News headlines today. National alert as killer bug reaches London. Hopefully. Well, no, I can't say that because I will get sued. They are at it again. Bar Stewards says, I see you. I agree with you. I see you. Which is why I decided right at the very outset of tonight's live, I'm going to do like an explainer. An explainer. And it's clarity in the chaos. No bullshit. No brown stuff. I don't give a damn. I'm telling you the truth. So that when you read all the bullshit in the newspapers, is this the wrong way around? Yeah. Meningitis outbreak. Worst we've ever seen, say experts. Well, in the words of the great Chinese philosopher, Foxtrot Oscar, because it's not it might be technically the worst, but they're not telling you what they need to tell you so that you can make an informed choice as to what you think. That's what I'm going to do tonight. And that's why, hopefully, you keep coming back to these lives, because I ain't mucking about. So I see you. Welcome to the Body of the Kirk, as well as Les Griffiths. Les says, Body Blue, charged with outraging public decency in London. In London. I don't know they had any anymore. I am definitely agreeing with you, Les. And I am going to do a bit of... I've got an angle, so to speak. So I'm going to do a bit of a... I don't know how I'm supposed to phrase this, but I'm going to do a deep dive on Bonnie Blue. You know what I mean. Hang on. Evening, Adrian. Oh, this is from Stuart. Hello, Stuart. Well, welcome, young sir. Evening, Adrian. Hope all is well. There's so much happening in the world. I've got lots of breakfast, skiers, drink to keep you going till 12 p.m. Is that tomorrow night or tonight, Stuart? I'll keep going till tomorrow. You know me. I'll just keep pounding on. Did you see the PM of Dublin went to visit the Orange Man yesterday? Boy, was he nervous around the Donald. Yeah. Did he not out the Donald with something? I saw something as I was trying to... The problem with trying to keep across everything that's going on at the minute, it's just like overload. I've got to, put my computer down and walk off for 10 minutes just to kind of stop my head from steaming. There's so much going on. So thank you, Stuart. As ever, welcome to the Body of the Kirk. And Les, I wonder if Trump will free the inmates of the gulag. I think there's going to be a bit like, how can I phrase this delicately? Hell on between Europe and everybody else in the world, because Europe thinks it's something. It thinks it's important. It thinks it's, well, relevant. And it's not. Ursula von der Leyen, bitch. 7 kids. I have to pack that with liver. David Graham says, evening all. Well, this is the last live show for winter. Oh, we see Davey's on the road again. Man from Man's Earth Band. David Graham is last live show for winter 25-26 as spring officially starts Friday. Clock's going forward 1 hour, Sunday week. Marvellous. Hang on a second. Does that mean we lose an hour in bed? Well, I'll have to have a sleep. I'll have to have a nana nap in the afternoon then, just to make me sleep up. Suella Braverman is on Daubney & Co. and GB News today. Interesting. Oh, I'm sure it is. So, why did you join Reform? No. Was it because their policies aligned with yours? No. Was it because, well, you thought Nigel Farage was a decent bloke? No. So, Suella, why did you go to Reform UK? I just wanted to stay as an MP. Super Ted, welcome, Super Ted, welcome to the Body of the Kirk, along with David Graham, and thank you, David. Napoleon Bonaparte, and another one's gone, another one bites the dust. All the Iranians be like, don't, I said to you last week, Napoleon Bonaparte, I said to you, they're all going, don't pick me, I don't want the job. Honestly, I'll live a portback, I'll stay a portback, I don't want anything, I don't want to be anything, because I'll get shot. You'll get shot if you don't? Oh, my Lord. So I'll get shot if I don't take the job, and I'll get blown up if I do take the job. Yeah? Who'd be an Iranian? Les says to Napoleon Bonaparte, Trump's creating jobs in Iran. Feckin' genius. So Annie Watts in the Body of the Kirk. Annie, welcome. Welcome to the Body of the Kirk. I've pressed me button too far. Oh, bloody hell, man. You've been chatting away and I've missed all... What's that? Marcia Toms is in the Body of the Kirk. Evening, Marcia. Good evening, Rev, and all in the Kirk. Unable to watch sermon live tonight, so we'll catch up very soon. Please leave me some Battenberg. Big slice for Marcia. Anybody touches it, they'll get hoyed out the church without any spectacles, testicles, wallet and watch. Lionel says, good evening, all. Enjoy on catch-up. Enjoy it on catch-up, Marcia. Lionel says, good evening, all. Looking forward to more clarity from the fountain of truth and knowledge. Yeah, smooth. Talking bar steward, Lionel. And Annie Watt says, looking forward to hearing about some clarity in the chaos. Adrian. Well, you're welcome, Annie Watt. All I can say is, welcome to the Theatre of the Mind. Welcome to Live 302, otherwise known as Mission 302. 302. Will I be blowed? Chance will be a fine thing. Oh, right, that's that. So, no parish notes this evening. You know what the Body of the Kirk consists of. You know where the Battenberg, altar wine and piles cushions are. You know that the Starmers are quite hard on your derriere, so be gentle with yourself. We'll have none of that onanism in the Body of the Kirk while we're... you know what I'm saying. So I'll make another prediction. The EU, Ursula von der Leyen, bitch, and little Keir Starmer, small man syndrome, with Macron from France and his husband. And they're just trying to tell everybody that they're relevant, and they're not, because Trump is telling them they can foxtrot Oscar. So the Simon this evening, just a quick mention, the Scots, that's the Scottish people, the ginger people, the Iron Brew people, over north of Hadrian's Wall, have voted against assisted dying. It was tight. If you've just thought of a mucky gag there, can I just, as the right irreverent reverend, can I just tell you off? And if you didn't, you need to get with the programme. So they're not, I mean, there's plenty of Ouija's, the Glaswegians, who've helped with assisted dying over the decades. Ice cream wars, anyone? And so... PMQs, Starmer got a political kickling today. So, welcome, the Body of the Kirk, where we bring clarity to the chaos and we cut through the brown stuff. So, evening, you. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. We've been going 3.5 years now, you know. I would suggest that today, even though it's hump day and PMQ's day, there are days when the world doesn't just feel busy, it feels loud. Not just kind of information loud, but noise, it's everywhere, noise. I mean, headlines stacked on top of each other, stories pulling in different directions, voices telling you what matters, without ever quite explaining why. And today is one of those days. On one page, meningitis, a word that lands instantly, cuts through everything. And within hours, fear, urgency, confusion. On another page, hello, it's me, David. Yeah, I know. We're in the bloody papers every day, man. I can't believe it. I don't know what Vicky's done to do this. But bloody hell, it's only me. I'm only ever pictured. I'm a WEF puppet, by the way. I just want you to know that. My balls haven't dropped. I don't know how I've fathered 4 kids. But can you not remember when I went on Michael Parkinson and I sounded like this? And then all of a sudden, he got breathing techniques and sounded like Joe Pasquale. So the Beckhams, again, different headlines, same family, distance, closeness, tension, proximity. And you start to wonder, are we watching events? Or are we watching narratives? And then, poor Winston, Winston Churchill, and the £5 note. I mean, a quiet change, maybe, but underneath it? Who decides what represents me and you? And alongside all of that, a system where driving tests meant to cost 62 quid are being sold for £500. A culture where shock becomes currency. And a poor anonymous artist people can't leave alone. And a political stage where answers don't always arrive. But performances do. Now, we'll take them one by one. They're just stories. But together, they point to something much, much deeper. Because every single one of them carries the same question. Is this facts, data, or is this noise? Is this something we need to understand or something designed to make us react, not respond? And you see, that's what we're doing tonight. We're not reacting. We're not amplifying. We're not even responding. We're decoding. We're going to take each of the stories that I've just mentioned, strip them back, remove the spin, remove the volume, and look at what's actually there. Because if you can learn to see clearly, and I'm bringing nearly 50 years worth of media experience and even more life experience, I'm giving it to you freely. All my experience, all my knowledge, and my ability to decode the brown stuff that's in the mainstream media on a daily and an hourly basis. So in a world that's constantly pulling your attention in every single direction, then you're no longer being carried by it. But only if you can see clearly now the rain has gone. So you're standing in it. And that is where clarity lives. So, if you're ready, shall we begin? Shall we talk about meningitis or MenB? The word on every front page today, and I'm looking down there because that's where my papers are. The word on every front page today, one word, meningitis. And almost instantly, 2 reactions. Concern, and maybe this applies to some of the audience in the body of the Kirk, and cynicism. Oh, here we go again. Another push, another narrative, another jibber jabber. But let's slow this right down. No hysteria, no eye rolling either from anybody in any parishioners in the body of the kirk. Just clarity. So let's start with what we now know, not speculation. This matters, facts. We're not talking about a vague illness or how's it carried on the wind. We are talking about a big word starting with M that I can't really pronounce, and if I have a stab at it, you'll be laughing for 3 days. But let's call it meningococcal group B, MenB for short. That's a specific bacterial strain, and crucially, it primarily affects infants and very young children. Now, you need to remember this. It's just literally that simple. It primarily affects, now I know it's uni, I know the teenagers, but it primarily affects infants and very young children. That's why they are jibber-jabbered, the under ones, and I think there's a couple of more jabs further down during their formative years. But I will say this to you with candour. Not the general adult population. Not the country at large. I'll reiterate the point I'm making here. It's really simple. It primarily affects infants and very young children, not the general adult population, not the country at large. That single fact should immediately reframe the story for you. Because when I've read all the articles today, and not one single newspaper article is clear about what it is and who it affects primarily. People have died. There's 20 people injured. They don't vaccinate teenagers. I think it was 2015 when the vaccine was introduced. They vaccinate the little ones. So who this actually concerns, let's be precise. The highest risk, babies under 1 year old. Secondary risk, young children, toddlers. Why? Because their immune systems are still developing. For the vast majority of adults watching this, this is not a direct personal health threat to you or me. And that needs to be said very, very clearly, because the headlines won't or can't say it. So now you're going to get to, hang on, Clever Clog, so what about the vaccines? I'm just going to address that head on. I'm not going to dance around it. People hear this story and think, oh, is this just another push for a mass vaccine? Fair question. But here's the grounded reality. The MenB vaccine is already part of the UK routine schedule. It's given to infants at 8 weeks, 16 weeks, 1 year, 3 jibber jabbers in 12 months. So it's not new. There doesn't need to be an emergency rollout, not population-wide. It's already embedded in standard childhood care. So if there's mention of vaccination in the coming days, it's likely reinforcement, not introduction. I'm going to let that land with you. If there is a mention of vaccination in the coming days, it's likely reinforcement, not introduction. And there was an opinion piece by some woman. I had a bit of a to-do on a live TV show in the East Midlands. Jane Moore. I was a bit lively for her. I was a bit too lively for her. Nicky Campbell laughed his cap off because they were presenting the show in the East Midlands. I basically put her in her place. Because today she's like, oh yeah, hang on, I'll give you the headline, because it kind of just ties in with what I'm saying to you. because this is important. All of a sudden, the newspapers, this is it, Jane Moore, in her article in the Sun today, I know trauma of MenB. If you have to pay for jab, do. Me? I'll contradict that in as much as saying only if it's applicable and one of the high-risk categories. It's already embedded in standard childhood care since 2015. So if there's mention of a vaccine, as there already has been in all of the dailies, reinforcement should be what you're watching for, not the introduction of the vax or jibber jabber. So let me just tackle something that is very close to our hearts, mine and yours. Why people feel cynical. I've told you, as the irreverent reverend, I'm the king cynical old tart. But it matters. Cynicism matters. So I'll be honest with you. The public has been through years of health messaging, constant alerts, changing guidance. So when a new headline appears, the instinct is, right, where's the angle then? My cynicism is probably rubbing off on you. And your cynicism didn't appear out of nowhere. It was built. But here's the line that you and I have to walk tonight. Not every health story is manipulation. Not every alert is escalation. Sometimes it's just a situation being reported. And our job, mine and yours, is to separate data from noise. So what's actually happening right now, today? So what we're seeing is likely a cluster of MenB cases, possibly within specific communities or regions. It's being picked up quickly by surveillance systems. They're talking about, it's the vapes. They're all like swapping and sharing vapes. So that's how it's spreading. No, there is no evidence whatsoever in any way, shape or form that vapes spread this. None. Let me just be clear with you, because the newspapers won't be. They just want you to buy their newspapers and wipe your ass with it. You see, all of those points, a cluster of MenB cases, possibly within specific communities or regions, and being picked up quickly by surveillance systems, and that is key. Detection is better than it used to be, so what feels like more cases, more panic, chaos, is often just more visibility. And why meningitis strain MenB still matters. And I'm not going to exaggerate any of this. And I don't want to downplay it either. MenB can be serious because it can progress quickly. Symptoms in babies can be hard to spot early on. Now, I'll give you this advice. Signs that parents are told to watch for, whether you're a parent or a grandparent, single or otherwise. You need to watch out for fever, unusual drowsiness in the bed, cold hands and feet, vomiting, sensitivity to light, and a rash in later stages. So for parents of very young children, toddlers and babies, awareness does matter. Speed matters. Don't muck about. If any of those pointers is present in your baby, fever, unusual drowsiness, cold hands and feet, vomiting, sensitivity to light, and rash in the later stages, just get them to A&E. Just get them to A&E. Don't mess about, because the medical practitioners won't chastise you for bringing your bairn in. Better safe than sorry. And you see, awareness and speed matter, but that's where the real world impact sits. So let me bring you back to the center. This is the reality check. and I want to land this cleanly with you. This is not a population-wide threat. This is not a new disease. This is not an emergency rollout situation. But what it is a known bacterial strain affecting a specific vulnerable group of people within a health system that already has protocols in place. So tonight you could say we hold two truths at once. Yes, people are right to question, to be alert, to not blindly accept every headline, but also not every piece of data is a storm. Sometimes it's simply a contained issue, a known risk, a call for awareness, not alarm. And the difference between panic and clarity is understanding exactly what you're looking at. So when you scan the papers in the morning, here's what to look for. And this will sharpen your awareness. Watch out for the language inflation. Are they saying outbreak or cluster? Big difference. And watch out for the emotional framing. Focusing on the children heightens urgency. Yes, it's understandable and it's powerful. And watch out for the call to action tone within that emotional framing. Watch for awareness versus pressure. Subtle, but an important distinction. And watch for the data gaps, the information that they're giving you. And are the mainstream media, whether it's newspapers, the news channels, the news programs or newspapers, are they giving numbers or just adjectives? And if they're heavy on adjectives and light on specifics, let's have a look at what they're not telling you. So look at this. Front page commentary. I know the trauma of MenB. If you have to pay for the jab, do! It's powerful. It's emotional. It's personal. And it's playing on your fears. Or maybe your family fears or your community's fears. And I'm not dismissing that, because lived experience matters. But here's the problem. Where's the clarity? Because all of this, the fear is clear, the urgency is clear, the emotion is clear. But the most important thing, who is actually at risk? That's not clear at all. The mainstream media are talking about university students being warned. A story about a toddler. General language about danger, danger, danger. And it all gets blended into one emotional signal. So what does the average person do? And what does the average person hear? Oh, this is everywhere. It's spreading all over the British Isles and it could affect anyone. But you see, that's not precise. And when you lose precision, you create anxiety without understanding. So, clarity in the chaos. MenB, this specific strain, primarily affects infants and very young children, with some secondary risk in teenagers, young adults in close contact environments. In other words, kissing the bloody face off them. This distinction matters because without it, you've got parents panicking, students worrying, and the wider public filling in the gaps with fear. It's fear porn. It's the perfect fear porn storm. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Emotion travels faster than detail, always has. And what the theatre of the mind is all about? Facts, data, clarity in the chaos. Not panicking, not filling you full of fear porn. A personal story will always land harder than a data point. But if you only get the story and not the structure around it, you don't get clarity. You get distortion. And I'm not saying this is intentional. It's how the media works. Story first, print and be damned, detail second, context, well, sometimes never. And this is where the theatre of the mind comes in. Because if we can, again, hold two things at once, left spherical, right spherical. Respect the story. Demand the clarity. Then you're not being pulled around by the headlines. You're seeing them for what they are. A piece of the picture, not the whole thing. And in a moment like this, when the word meningitis is everywhere, the difference between fear and calm is simply knowing who this actually affects. Let me go to some of your comments. Failure racing driver, welcome to the body of the Kirk and Paulie Galtieri. Hope Master Tom's enjoys that. D. Lewis, monkeypox. Monkey. Be careful. If you get monkeypox, you might shove your banana up your area. Evening, Adrian, and all you. What's up? Roggins, late again, Gribbo. If only you were early. What's his Bad Wolf project? GSK awarded, the MenB vaccine supplied. There you go. More TikTok videos of healthcare workers doing choreographed shill dances. Yeah, you're absolutely spot on with that, Lewis. Bad Wolf project again. Expected signing May 2026. Duration up to 4 years with extension option. Bloody hell. Somebody, when we're being made to feel fear, somebody always makes money. It's all about the Benjamins. It's all about the moolah, the greenbacks. Money. That's why they make so much. That hurt. That said, Einstein and the former Prince Andrew are going phew. Very good point. I don't think they're going to get away with it. And neither is Mandy. I would, just as a little aside before we get into the Beckhams, some papers, as in possibly classified papers, have made their way to Washington. It's got Mandy Mandelson written all over it. So there's a big story coming about Mandy that they won't be able to get and wriggle out of. They're going to try. They're going to move heaven and earth. But Mandy, at his age, he should be thankful. He's getting it. And finally, they were awarded the contract in September 2025. It's almost as if they knew what was coming. Well, it's in Kent. What else is in Kent? No, I'll leave it there. That would get me into trouble. So, hello, my name's David. I love being in the press, mate. I'm getting more press now than I was when I was a bloody footballer playing for England. David Beckham, same day, 2 stories. One of them was front page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how this works. Not in theory, but in real time. Today, Wednesday, same day, same family, 2 different newspapers, 2 completely different stories. And I've told you, and I won't be far wrong, that since David Beckham picked up the award at the World Economic Forum in Davos, he's been in the newspapers virtually daily. So on one page, snow near. So far for the Beckhams was the headline. David and Romeo skiing in Canada, Brooklyn, keeping his distance. It's a narrative of separation, distance, something not quite right. But turn the page, different newspaper. Brooklyn lay by the pool, just yards from his father's hotel room. In LA. This David Beckham is magical. He can be in two places at the same time, LA and somewhere in Canada. I can vouch that skiing and Whistler is a bit special. So it's the same people and the same window of time, but now proximity, closeness, almost meeting. Let me give you that again. There's on the one hand, a narrative of separation, distance, something not quite right. Turn the page, different paper, same people. But now it's proximity, closeness, almost meeting. So, it's a really easy question. Which is it? Far apart or just yards away? Here's the truth. Here's the answer. Neither story is the truth, but they are versions of the truth. Because look at the detail. We're told David was in Canada skiing with Romeo. He then flew to LA for work, staying at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Brooklyn and Nicola were already there. Brooklyn by the pool, David dining at the Polo Lounge. They narrowly missed each other. Now step back from it. That's not drama. That's logistics. That's two adults living their lives. But that doesn't sell newspapers. So what do? You take the neutral facts and you tilt them. One way, he's miles away, keeping his distance. Another way, they're right next to each other, but not connecting. Same ingredients, just a different recipe. And then you add the fuel. We're told Brooklyn has fallen out with the family. No contact with Romeo and Cruz. He didn't send his mother any flowers or cards or anything for Mother's Day, but he did for the mother-in-law. Tensions around Nicola Peltz. A 6-page letter. Social media silence. Victoria sharing posts, but no response from Brooklyn. Now you've got it. It's narrative tension, because a happy, stable family doesn't generate daily headlines. But a family with a question mark, that runs forever. And here's the key detail most people miss. Even the near miss is useful. Even the fact that we're in the same hotel, it becomes part of the story, because now you've got, oh, so close, yet so far. They could have met, but they didn't. That's not reporting events. That's writing a script. And the script has to keep moving every day. So one day it's distance. The next day, it's proximity. The next day, it's silence. The next day, it's a hint of reconciliation. The story never resolves. Because the moment it resolves, poof, it disappears. Now, you know I'm a fair man. A cynical old tart maybe, but a fair man. So, let's be fair. Is this all PR? Not entirely. Is it all media invention? Not entirely. It's something more subtle. In my view, it's a feedback loop. The family lives their life. The media selects moments from that life, frames them, amplifies them. The public engages, oh, poor Brooklyn, oh, poor Vicky. And that engagement keeps the story alive. Because here is the truth. The Beckhams are no longer just people. They are an ongoing narrative asset. And assets don't go quiet. They're managed, maintained, kept just warm enough. Not boiling, not exploding, just simmering. So tomorrow, when you see yet another Beckham headline, don't just read it. Ask yourself this. What angle have they chosen today? And what angle could they have chosen instead? Because once you see it, you realise something really simple. It's not that the story is changing, it's that the frame is. So, we're going to have a poll. This time, it's 1 for genuine family issues, 2, media know it sells, 3, PR keeps it alive, and then 4, it's a mix of everything. So here's the question for your votes. What's really driving the Beckham headlines? 1, genuine family issues. 2, media knows it sells newspapers. 3, PR for brand Beckham keeping it alive. Or 4, a mix of everything. For 24 years, I've been living next door to Beckham. Beckham's, who the feck are Beckham, says Ashton. Bad Wolf's saying media knows it sells newspapers. Matt Whedon's saying it keeps brand Beckham alive. And Geordie Nicholas, any controversy or controversy that pops up, carefully timed, keeps the public focused on gossip while bigger things happen behind the scenes. Photos with one eye covered. Classic Illuminati. Which eye? So Orokida and Stephen Shepherd and Nathan Diamond, Albert Metcalf, all saying media knows it sells. But where's it gone? Tom Harneys and Geordie Nicholas are saying it's a mix of everything. The genuine family issues, media knows it sells, PR keeps brand Beckham alive. David Bevan is saying PR keeps it alive. Barry Wright and Fatal Racing Driver are saying the media knows it sells. Garen Davis, 5, I don't give a flying. Reg D, media. Legalista, PR. Des Ashton, who gives a flying Beckham? David Warrington reckons it's a mix of everything. But can I just say, thank you for all your votes. Terry Harris says 2 and 3. Lewis and Lauren Taylor, 4, distraction, a mix of everything. Albert Metcalf, it's all about the Benjamins. Enver says 4, but who gives a flyer about the Beckhams? They're on the front page. I mean, they've been on the front page nearly every day for the last 3 or 4 days. And you just think, who cares whether Brooklyn sends his mother any flowers or not? So did you, and I've got more interaction coming for you. Hang on, let me do another one. Let's have another vote. So today on the front of the Mail, the headline was meningitis outbreak worst we've ever seen, say experts. So I'm going to ask you a question about trust in experts. When the headline says experts warn, do you trust it? 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for I don't know. When the headline say experts warn, do you trust it? I'm not going to gloat that Newcastle are out of the Champions League tonight. Barcelona was a tough game. And even Man City didn't play that well against. Was it PSG? So, when headlines say experts warn, do you trust it? 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for I don't know. So, meanwhile, in Iran, says Lauren Taylor, Stephen Shepherd, Dodzer, Cuban Pete, Comic Mania, Lewis, Nathan Diamond, Garen Davis, Lionel, Elliott, Dave Warrington, did I say Albert Metcalf? Fatal Racing Driver, Mad Matt UK, Davey Bevan, Stuart, Vix Tex, Paulie Galtieri, no shitty witty expert, Orokida and Barry White, and I see you, and Reg D, Nathan Diamond, all saying no. But Enver says 3, depends on which expert they are quoting. Good point. Napoleon blown apart. Feck, 2. Lauren Taylor, 2. Louise Hampson, 2. I don't trust it. William Commons and Tom Harneys and Geordie Nicholas. Experts can be anybody. Depends what you're an expert in. Expert, Dr. Fauci, says Vixtex. You win the internet tonight, Vixtex. Everyone is an expert, it seems, says I see you, including Anthony Fauci. Love it. Karina says no. So it looks like there's a lot of spurt in expert. Bill Gates, expert, very wealthy expert. Are you monitoring what's going on in Holland? Just keep, if you can, just keep an eye on Bill Gates and Holland because they're getting a right kicking. Lewis, how do we end shite, man? And Annie Watt, good to see you in the body of the Kirk tonight, Annie. It's been a while. Super Ted, Dr. Shillery, the expert idiot. Yeah, useful idiot, Gribbo. And Reg D, Dr. Hillary Jones, Bill Gates, too. Des Ashton says, maybe I have trust issues. So thank you for that. Looks like it's almost 100%, to be fair. So let's get to something that I'm calling... Can you remember, was it Judy? I can't remember the name of the singer, but it's a really sad song. But today, they sent in the clowns. So a friend said to me, my brain's going quicker than me gob, how can a Prime Minister not answer a single question at PMQs? And the word he used was clown to describe Sir Keir Starmer. Now, that's usually an insult. But what if it's also a description? Because what does a clown actually do? A clown doesn't fix the problem. A clown doesn't run the show. A clown manages the moment. In a circus, when something goes wrong, a fall, a mistake, something off script, they don't stop the show. They send in the clowns to distract, to hold attention, to keep the audience looking here, there, while something else is happening over there. So bring that into politics. PMQs today, Prime Minister's questions. And clown is an apt description. It looks like accountability. It sounds like scrutiny, but often it just plays like theatre, darling. Theatre. Questions asked, answers not quite given, not anywhere near given. Lines delivered, laughter on cue, and the audience, MPs, media, public, are pulled into the performance. So when someone says clown to you, clown world, clown palace, maybe they're pointing at something deeper, not just behaviour, function. Because if the system rewards quick lines over clear answers, deflection over detail, performance over precision, then what you get is not clarity, you get theatre, darling. And theatre has its place, but it's not the same as truth. So the real question isn't why won't he answer? It's what kind of stage have we built where not answering still works? Because if the spotlight stays on the performance, you never quite see what's happening in the shadows. So I'm going to ask you, hang on, what's Bad Wolf Project? Keir is more a ringmaster, and Gribbo, master of rings and wolf. Bad Wolf Project, Gribbo. It's an exit, not an entry. Paulie Gallieri, Lord Ali of the Rings. So I'm going to ask you a question. Remember, it's 1, 2, 3, and we have another 4. So, is PMQs real accountability? Or is it just political theatre, darling? 1, real accountability. 2, mostly theatre. 3, a mixture of both. And 4, it just doesn't work anymore. Dodger reckons mostly theatre. Is it 1, real accountability? Is PMQs real accountability or political theatre? 1, real accountability. 2, mostly theatre. 3, a mixture of both. 4, don't work anymore. Oh, it's interesting. Oh, very interesting. So we've got Dodzer, Tablock Tracy. Stuart and Matt Whedon and Nathan Diamond are all saying, mostly theatre, darling. But then we get into That Hurt and Barry Wright and Comic Mania and Stephen Shepard and Albert Medcalf and I See You, Super Ted, Garen Davis, and William Commons all saying, doesn't work anymore. Tablock Tracy saying 3, it's a mix of both. And Dave Warrington saying 2. Nobody has said 1, real accountability. So why do we watch it? Louise Hampson says it doesn't work anymore. Annie Watt says mostly theatre. In the Field says, you left a 20 billion black hole. I'm still not answering your questions. I know. And the party opposite and their 14 years of ruin and the 22 billion black hole. Napoleon Bonaparte 2 and 4. If it counted for out, I'd be banned. Correct. What was the old trying to remember his name. The old firebrand. He became mayor of London. And one of his books in the late 60s, early 70s, if voting changed anything, they'd abolish it. The Speaker should bring Starmer to account and make him answer straight. Comic Mania, I completely agree. That's why Hoyle is both ineffective and needs to go. They need to choose somebody else. But they've chosen him because obviously he's not going to give them a tough time. I mean, can you imagine Hoyle standing up going, oi, Starmer, answer the bloody question, man. We're sick and tired of this. Answer the bloody question. Oh, thank you, Stuart. That Jaeger bombs is going down rather well. Ken Livingston, thank you, Stuart. Enver said Livingston and Orchidia. Ken Livingston. Sadiq Khan praying outside Westminster the other day. Was he not doing something else today? Can I say to you, keep watching America. Keep watching America. Keep watching America, what it does with Maduro and Venezuela. Why? Because I think the Orange Man is going to try and prove that the voting was rigged. And then I'm going to ask you a secondary question, which I know you don't have the answer to, but these machines, these vote counting machines, have they been used in the United Kingdom? Of course they bloody have. Where? London. I'll leave that with you. Watch America. Because when Trump comes out and announces that there's anything nefarious gone on because Maduro is singing like a jaybird, then look at this country and see where those machines were used. They've been used in Scotland, they've been used in London, they've been used around the UK. I will say more when I can. You might have missed my comment earlier. Lionel. Judy Collins, 1975, Send in the Clowns. Also Frank Sinatra, but Judy Collins did the much more emotive version. Be careful you don't get me onto music again. Vote counting machines made in China by chance? No, in the Field, they're made in Venezuela. They were made in Venezuela. And Maduro is now in New York and singing like a jaybird to the Department of Justice. He knows where the bodies are buried. That's why they're all shitting it. Including President Skidmark. But is there anywhere else in Europe that might be a bit 50p sixpence, nervous? Stephen Hall, what you like? Bloody hell. But welcome to the body of the Kirk, Stephen, as ever. It's a broad Kirk. It's an open Kirk. Everybody's welcome, no matter how late you are. What's Bad Wolf said now? Stephen Sondheim for the 1973 musical A Little Night Music. I'm not... Bloody hell, man. I just like the song. Star Trek 2. I think I need to engage you to get you away from that. Will Winston Churchill do that? I mean, I've been to his place of his birth. Beautiful place. Beautiful, beautiful place. So, Churchill on the Fiver. The Blue Note. Who decides? Is it the wokerati? Or is it me and you? So let's start here. There is talk, I'm sure you're aware, it is gathering pace, that Winston Churchill may be removed from the £5 note. What are they going to put on there? Animals? What are they going to do? Show a picture of a beaver? So then we'll just say, are you going to give me a beaver for a £5? Give me a Winston for a £5. Now, on the surface, that's just administration. It's an administrative design refresh, rotation. Happens all the time. But let's not pretend that this is just about ink and paper. Because even the Orange Man has got a bust of Churchill in the Oval Office. And he said, was it yesterday? Obama removed that. Some of the Democratic presidents have removed it from the Oval Office. He said, no, I want that back in. Now, to our history, to our nation, and who we are, Churchill isn't just a figure on a note. He's a symbol, and symbols matter. So, I want you to decide. I want you to vote. Who votes? This is not the question, by the way. I'm going to get to the question in a second. Who decides which symbols stay and which ones go? Now, at the moment, it looks like there's a bloody council somewhere by committee. Churchill isn't neutral. Churchill is the voice of defiance in 1940. Churchill is the man who stood when Europe folded. The surrender monkeys in France, bloody Italians, they got heels on the front of the shoes. The Italian tanks, 5 speed, 1 forward, 4 reverse. And Churchill is the embodiment, for many people, of British resilience. But also, like his source, a deeply controversial figure in other parts of his record. A man viewed very differently depending on where you stand in history. But when you remove Churchill, you're not just redesigning currency as if we're going to have it for much longer. What you are doing is making a statement about which version of history takes precedence. And this is where it gets interesting, because this isn't happening in isolation. We've seen the pattern before. Statues questioned, street names reconsidered, historical figures revalued through a modern lens. And the argument is always the same. We're updating, we're rebalancing, we're reflecting modern values. Fair enough. But here's the counterweight. At what point does reevaluation become erasure? And I'm not talking about the pop duo. Because if every single historical figure is judged solely by modern standards, then none of them survive intact. Not Churchill, not anyone. History is messy, contradictory, human. And if you start removing figures because they are imperfect, you don't end up with a cleaner story, you end up with a thinner one. Now, let's bring it back to you, and me for that matter. Because this isn't really about Churchill, it's about continuity. A nation, like a person, holds on to certain anchors, symbols, stories, reference points. And when those begin to shift, even subtly, people feel it. Not always consciously, but they do feel it. That sense of something's changing, but no one asked me. So tonight the question isn't, should Churchill stay on the £5 note? That's too narrow. The real question should be, who decides what represents us? Is it institutions? Is it committees? Is it cultural momentum? Or is it you and I, the public itself? Because as we know, and they do it all the time, they do it in the background, they do it quietly. If symbols are changed quietly, without conversation, without consent, then what you're left with is not evolution. I'd call it drift. And drift is dangerous because you don't notice it happening until one day you look around and think, hang on, how did we get here? So Churchill on a £5 note, it's a small detail, but the principle underneath it, that is not small at all. So 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for I don't know. In your view, should Winston, the Churchill, stay on the fiver? 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for I don't know. Should Winston stay on the fiver? The £5 banknote. 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for I'm not sure. Orkida is the only one saying no. Lewis and Reg D and Mad Matt, Paul West, I see you, Elliot, Barry Wright, Vix Tex, Drift and Grift, Matt Whedon, Enver, Comic Mania, God blimey, Fatal Racing Driver, William Commons, Matt Whedon, I've said Vix Tex, Gribbo, Vix Tex says 1, Fatal Racing Driver, Des Ashton, Lister, Annie Watt, Stuart Dodzer, and Dave Warrington. Les Griffiths, 5. Bloody hell. Not bothered. What's a fiver? You've got far too much money, Les. And Catwoman Jones and Tom Harney's Napoleon blown apart. 2. Replace him with the Prince of Wales. Oof, that's controversial. Might as well remove the head of Charles the Weak off the fiver while we're at it. Oh, I say, Comic Mania. They'll send you to the tower. Karina and Davy Dingle and Ted Richards, all he should stay on the fiver. And there's only, 1 or 2 comments, some people being funny. But if he went to the country, can you imagine the furore? Can you imagine the kickoff? In the field says 1, but then I'm okay with change, just not now while it's political. Very good point. Thank you for that. Book says cash is almost extinct. It's all going to be crypto within 2 or 3 years. Bad Wolf Project 3. When you look at the history, Newton and Nightingale and Shakespeare lasted over 20 years. Yeah, what about William Shakespeare? He shouldn't be taken off either. Newton? No. And Nightingale, look what she did for this country. And then the wokerati are sitting in some council office somewhere, bored off their tits. Oh, actually, sitting at home doing absolutely feck all before they go into the office 1 day a week. Geordie Nicholas says at Al-Aqsa Mosque, most important sites in Islam located in Jerusalem will be flattened soon. That's what it's all about. Do a bit digging. Oh, well, yeah. They want the third temple. So that's almost 100% saying Churchill stays on the fiver. And talking of design and art, let's talk about Banksy. Because out of all the stuff that's been going on in the news, whether it's Beckham or whether it's meningitis or whether it's Iran, the thing that really got my goat today, Banksy, David Jones. It wasn't because he was called Davy Jones. It was because some plebs had a need to know who he was. So let me give you a different kind of story. Not heavy, not urgent, but very revealing about who we are as a nation. So, Banksy. You know the anonymous artist? The ghost in the system? The man who appears, paints and then disappears, fecks off. And now we're told he may have been travelling under a very ordinary name. David Jones. Just sit with that for a second. Not Banksy, not an alias dripping with intrigue. David Jones. And immediately, what happens? you'll lean in and people start scratching the surface and they start digging and people start connecting the dots. Oh, is it him? Is this the breakthrough? Have we finally got him? Because it's really sad. As a nation, I would suggest, looking at this story, we don't like mystery. Well, not really. We say we do. We romanticize it. But give us half a chance and we start scratching at the surface and scratch and scratch and scratch until we can put a name on the unknown. But here's the thing. Banksy only works because he isn't known. The minute you try and pin him down, try and give him a face, a biography, a postcode, he changes, not physically, symbolically. He goes from the romanticized myth, movement, message to a man. And there's something in us that can't quite leave that alone. We want to demystify. We want to pull the curtain back, lift the veil, and we want to say, oh, it's just him. And that's the word, isn't it? Just. Just a man. Just an artist. Just someone travelling the world with a can of spray paint. But what if the mystery is the point? Because Banksy isn't just producing art, he's producing absence. And in that absence, we, you and I, project, we imagine, we engage. It's art, darling. And the moment you replace that with David Jones, age whatever, from, wherever, you shrink it, you contain it, you make it manageable. Now, here's where it gets slightly obtuse and playful, because David Jones isn't just any name. It's the birth name of David Bowie. The same name linked to Davy Jones from the Monkees. And Bowie had to change his name because there was already a David Jones. So he became Bowie, a constructed identity, a deliberate mask. And Banksy? He's done the opposite. He's taken identity away. One built a persona to be seen, Bowie. The other removed a persona to be felt. And maybe that's why this fascinates people so much, because in a world where everyone is posting, broadcasting, branding themselves, Banksy stands apart. No face, no interviews, no explanation, just the work. And we, the great unwashed, can't quite handle that, so we try to name him, label him, reduce him. Because if we can say, oh, it's just David Jones, then the mystery just, poof, disappears. And we can move on. That's what I've told you about the news cycle. It was, a couple of months ago, 2 hours. Now it's instant. Move on. Oh, is that the story? Move on. Not interested. Move on. Can I make any money of that by posting it online? Move on. Tom Harney's, ooh, controversial, Tom. Banksy, nothing more than a vandal. Paulie Galtieri, exactly who cares? Banksy is a guardian, reading, champagne sipping, oyster eating, Nagamunchetti type. Tell it like it is, Paulie. I see you says, Banksy is just saying what most people think. It's a sort of quiet rebellion. We love quiet rebellions in this country, don't we? Enver, Jesus, Paulie, that's a bit of a Dougie rant. Well, there you go, Enver. Tom Harney's, he's also a looker under the sea, apparently. Oh, sorry, he also has a locker under the sea, apparently. Hello, Adrian. Said it first. What? Banksy will be back with a new tag name, the Thin White... the Thin White Duke. No, I didn't, says David Graham, in the field, just in case people thought it was Welsh. All right. Pwy'ch tad nawr te, or Tullin Bob Size. The Welsh are laughing now. Tullin Bob Size in Welsh means arseholes to all Englishmen. No, poorly well remembered. And David Graham, Tom Jones, full real name was Thomas Woodward. That's not unusual. You're wrong. So let me just round this off. Thank you for all your comments. Maybe, just maybe, some things are better left unsigned. Or are people wanting to out Banksy because it'll bring the price of a Banksy down? So, right, another poll. Let's have another poll. Should Banksy's identity be revealed? 1, yes, the public deserve to know. Mind you, how many people tag buildings and trains and nobody knows who they are? 2, no, mystery is the point. 3, curious but not important. 4, don't care. So should Banksy's identity be revealed? 1, yes, the public deserves to know. 2, no, mystery is what it's all about. And then 3, curious but not important. Interesting. 4, don't care. Dodzer and Enver and Lewis. I mean, I know that you're cynical old tarts, but no. Tom Jones was called Tom Smith. It's that Jones name from the Valleys. In the field, Lionel, Garen Davis, Comic Mania, Dreamer, Mad Matt, Stewart. Stephen Hall says serious but not important. Most people are saying no. Mystery is the point. Bad Wolf Project, Napoleon Blown Apart, Albert Metcalf, Barry Wright, Stephen Hall, all saying, I'm curious, but it's not important really. Lewis says, no, don't care. And That Hurt, and I See You. Global Glimpses 2, no. And Vixtex, no. But it's, do you know, Les Griffiths. Yeah, cynical old tart, Les. Oh, who cares? Paulie Galtieri. Turns out it's Queer Starmer. I don't know how you've put those two words together. The Bad Wolf Project. Who is the Scarlet Pimpernel? You may say that, but I can't possibly comment the Bad Wolf Project. Dave Warrington. Curious but not important. Ted Richards. William Collins. Don't care. Des Ashton says, no, I'm Spartacus. Spartacus Autisticus. See what I did there, Ian Jury? So the Spastic Society in the back end of the 70s went to one of our greatest poets ever, musician, Ian Jury. And the Spastic Society, who are now called something else, said, oh, Ian, you had polio as a child. Would you be able to write a song for us? And Ian said, huh? So lovely. So they set up this, I can't remember whether it was Radio 4, but they set up this really highfalutin, highbrow program where they were going to reveal the song. And Ian Jury's there, and representatives from the Spastic Society are there. And he comes up with this song called Spasticus Autisticus. And I mean, I would have paid really good money to be a fly on the wall to see the face of everybody. You can't do that. What do you mean? I can't do that. I've got a withered arm. And I can't walk properly. They never used it, seemingly. Jean-Michel Basquiat had status as a tagger back in the day and became hugely famous once outed. Not that, outed. That wouldn't happen for Banksy. I remember that name, Jean-Michel. Smash the likes if you hit the like. If you don't, oh yeah, let's have a look, you wrong-uns. Let's get it over 100, please. That would be much appreciated. Where are we? Right, I need to... I want to talk about... let me just round that off by saying thank you to everyone for your votes and your comments. There's some very funny comments. So I'll just round that off by saying this isn't really about Banksy's name. It's about our obsession with unmasking mystery. And why can't we have a bit of romanticism to art? Banksy's bringing people into the artistic sphere. So let's talk about, and it's a phrase that I've coined this afternoon, shock influencers. The Bonnie Blue moment, because I think somebody in the chat earlier said that Bonnie Blue's been lifted, not a turkey arse lifted. So I want to introduce you to a phrase. You may not have heard it before. Shock influencers. Did my voice just kind of fade into the distance there? That sounded really weird. It's the phrase you've not heard before is shock influencers. And today, a live example. Bonnie Blue. You know exactly who it is. I'm not going to get into the detail of what she does, but she's been charged over alleged public indecency after filming explicit content outside an embassy. So you know she was kicked out of an embassy. So she was kicked out of a country, not very happy with them because she's trying to make a few bob. So then she went to their embassy with the flag of that particular embassy and look, I'm not interested in the act itself. I'm interested in what it represents. Because this isn't just one person making a bad decision. This is a model. We've entered a space where attention is currency, visibility is survival, and the fastest route to both, shock. Now you are listening to and interacting with what was termed, and there were newspaper articles left, right, and centre about me, a shock jock. And that's why I came up with these shock influencers. I mean, Katie Hopkins, she's used the shock jockery of radio in the past, and she's one, I would suggest, at the forefront of shock influencers. Not that I'm singling Katie out, but she's done very well with having a go at women that call their daughters or call their children after place names. And all that's just shock jockery. I mean, Scotty, I still laughed at it to this day. Scotty McClue, he's like, do you know, women with fat arses would make great burglars. And he's on a phone call with somebody, and somebody goes, what? How do you work that out? He said, oh, because if they burgle somewhere, they'll be able to wipe out their footprints with their asses they're escaping. I mean, that, for me, is, and I literally can see Scotty laughing his head off, because he's just a wind-up merchant, but a lovely, lovely guy. And I remember that's his art. Harder thinking is one of Scotty's phrases. And the shock jocks, James Whale, Scotty McClue, me, various others, but we all had our own take on it. And now, 2026, shock influencers, people that will run into somebody's house with a camera and put people into a state of fear and alarm, and the guy of the house saying, I've got kids, I've got kids. We've never heard of that guy since, have we? The black kid that did all the media rounds. So what happens? The content escalates, not gradually, deliberately. Because what worked yesterday, the shock jocks on the radio, just doesn't cut through today. So the boundaries move. And eventually, you do cross a line. Not accidentally, strategically. Stuart says, Dinky Doo is my favourite Scotty line. I think it was John Myers that came up with that. Might have been Scotty. But I know that John Myers came up with the name Scotty McClue because he hasn't got a clue. Seemingly, that was the thought behind it. So here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because we like to think that's them, not us. But every time something like this hits the headlines, it spreads. It's read, it's shared, it's debated. And all of that feeds the system. Even outrage is oxygen, especially outrage. So what you're looking at here is not just a story, Bonnie Blue fillets some guys outside of a particular embassy in London. It's a feedback loop. Creator pushes the edge. Media amplifies. She's in the news cycle. She's in the conversation of the theatre of the mind. The public reacts. Algorithm rewards that reaction, and round it goes and round it goes and round it goes. So now let's bring it back to Bonnie Blue, because whether intentional or not, and I'm saying that for legal reasons, she becomes the vehicle, not the story. The real story is this: what kind of environment rewards this behavior? Because if shock brings followers, fame, financial upside, then the system is quietly saying, go further. And some will. Not all, but enough. Lily, there was another girl. So Bonnie is doing all this stuff and going around all the campuses and universities. And then she was chucked off OnlyFans. And then there's Lily Phillips. She's been in the papers today saying something. And I just thought, I can't read that. That's just shite. And the thing is, my peepers are reading this so I can engage you with engaging content, not shock. Look, I can be the most shocking individual on YouTube without even trying. I did it on radio, death threats, all kinds of stuff came my way. I had a madman answering me phones. But without even trying, I could shock your hair curly and the whole of YouTube. I'd get shut down. But enough people are doing it already, which is why I bring clarity to the chaos, which is why I'm doing it differently on YouTube and the other socials. Because when enough people do, the line does shift. What once shocked becomes familiar. What once felt extreme becomes content. Some of my broadcasting, when I had a girl ring me and say, I'm going to kill myself, I say, right, oh, then off you go. I went to the next caller. That's shocking. Because people had never heard anything like that. I had a guy in South Wales that said he was a paedophile. So I kept him online. And I could hear and it was a wind-up call. So he says. But his wife was in the background, and I could hear it in the background. Get the bloody phone put down. Get the bloody phone put down. Don't you realise what you're doing? He thought it was funny. Until the cops knocked at his door. Because what he was saying was, he alleged, that he'd messed with kids. So I just sent the cops round. He thought it was funny. He wasn't prosecuted because he said it was a wind-up. There'd been no previous. They couldn't prove anything. But shocking the audience now on social media, that's the drift. And as I've said earlier, that doesn't happen overnight. It happens baby steps, incrementally, repeatedly, quietly. Until one day, and I've used this earlier, you'll look around and think, how the bloody hell did we get here? So no, this is not about one individual. It's about a culture where reaction is rewarded more than substance. And the question isn't, why did she do it? The question is, why does the system keep rewarding it? So I'm going to ask you for another poll. Bad Wolf Project. The demise of shock radio ended with Steve Allen. If you now look at JOB on LBC, he isn't a shock. He's just a tool. Thank you, Bad Wolf Project. Stuart, for fuck's sake, why would you say something like that live on the radio? Because they thought they were clever. Because as a radio presenter, you have an instinct. And this particular girl, my instinct was screaming at me, she's telling lies. So I had an option to either call her bluff or take the story. And I had a more important call to go to next. So I just thought, I'm going to call her bluff. So I said, all right, go on. An hour later, she rings the show back, didn't get back on air, but spoke to my phone up, my producer through the glass. And she said, will you apologise to Adrian? I didn't mean it. I said it. I was just trying to wind him up, and it didn't work. And the guy in South Wales, stupidity of the highest order. As I've said to you before, and I want to get to your opinion poll in a second, I've had people in, and it was a privilege for me to present late night radio shows or lunchtime radio shows and have people expose the rawness of their emotion to me. I told you before about a guy who just couldn't take any more and was just going to check out. I was on the phone off air for 4 hours in the middle of the night. It was about 7 o'clock in the morning when I got home. But when someone cries out for help, you absolutely categorically know it, because you can feel it in your bones. And he started his conversation with me online saying, oh, what are you finding so funny? I've finished the noose and it's around me neck. Now, I would say to anyone that if you're struggling, there are places to go and speak with people, because speaking it lessens its power. But that guy, I was on air for easily 2 hours and then another 4 afterwards. And this was, he came on the radio about 1 o'clock in the morning. So I watch what's happening on social media. And I said to you, when you get something, people have to push it more and push it more and push it more, because then the algorithm rewards that. It's almost like an episode of Black Mirror. And that's why it's taken me 3.5 years to get here, but I would rather have clarity in the chaos than just be shocking. And then wake up the next day and people would be at me and all over me. I'd rather be intelligent and an intelligent broadcaster and not have to do the shocking stuff. But is that just going to leave me in the backwater somewhere? I will say this to you tonight. I have the best and most intelligent audience on YouTube, without fear of contradiction. So, I'm going to ask you a question. Stephen Hall, that was real radio, not the corporate crap we have now. Yeah, so the talented, I mean, not all of them, but some of them that were talented and were able to bring an audience into radio. I loved my time in South Wales. It was just the most fun with your clothes on, because people would join in. They loved personality, character, and when I had people ringing up going, hello, I want a streak. What do you mean you want a streak? I want a streak. I want to run with no clothes on, and I'm going to shout, oh yeah, daddy now then. Okay. And it was a water cooler moment. People would hear that. It was only on the radio for 2 or 3 minutes. And people the next day in work would go, bloody hell, did you hear that woman or that man or that person going, who's your daddy now then? Naked in Trefoil or somewhere in South Wales. And what I'm trying to do here is build a community. I'm trying to build something that I don't speak to you, I speak with you. I want your opinions, I want your takes, because your intelligence and your life experience and skills is of service to other human beings. And that's what I'm trying to build here. But I want you to give me your take. Some of you have heard me on the radio. Some of you have heard how shocking I could have been. And there are little bits and pieces. I mean, an example, and it's on this channel. If you go to the playlist, my on-air stuff, there's something called Fake or Real. And basically, it was the Real Radio first anniversary in South Wales. And I decided I needed to do something that was just going to be shocking, or not shocking, but would get people's attention. And I was driving into work because there was a party that night on the first anniversary where there was loads of alcohol, and I had to leave my car after the show. So I had a few sherbets, dib dabs, and I thought, yeah, I'll do that. We'll do When Harry Met Sally on the radio. What's that, Adrian? Oh, you'll see. So I went on air at 10 o'clock and I said, right, we can't do it yet. We'll build up to it to 11 o'clock. Once all the kiddywinks are in bed, then 11 o'clock, what we'll do is we'll play When Harry Met Sally on the radio. So basically, I want you to call in and we're going to call it Fake or Real. I want you to have an orgasm and I'm going to have a panel and we're going to judge it for content, noise level, and some other bits and pieces. And we have to work out whether it was fake or real. It's on the channel. It's there if you want to go and listen to it. I mean, my boss the next morning, he said to me, what the hell was that? So, well, what was what? Now, the cover was that we were playing When Harry Met Sally. That scene in the diner where Meg Ryan is, faking it. Faking it till she can make it. And her mother was like, I'll have whatever she's having. So we were just reenacting that scene. Now, if I talked about it being any deeper than that, then it could have got me into trouble. But the South Walians loved it. There was people from Liverpool and Bristol and all over the place, Birmingham. They were calling in and having the best fun because it was silliness. But at the same time, we did serious stuff. We did silliness. And that's what I'm trying to make here. Not the shock jockey stuff. I'd be here and gone in 10 minutes. But intelligent broadcasting with some cheekiness and some fun and some humour, as well as clarity in the chaos. That's what this channel's all about. So I'm going to ask your... Pete Price was horrible to people on his phone in Rusty's roamings. Pete was, he wasn't the same off air as he was on off air. He was, because I worked at City FM for quite a while. Pete was lovely. Personal experience. I can only speak as I find. The Jacobite. Would you do fake or real again? I wouldn't do it, but I'd host a phone in with it. I mean, can you imagine? Because it's sometimes I have to be sometimes cautious because my cheeky side has no boundaries. I literally would do anything. And it like on here, I won't go too far, but I'll go far enough. But I won't shock. That's not the game anymore. And so there's kids that might have heard the old shock jocks and think, oh, I'll do that. I'll do that. I mean, there's Tommy Boyd, one of the most intelligent broadcasters ever. But he could shock. Boy, that boy knew what he was doing. So all of the people that you think were shock jocks, James Whale, Scotty, myself, there's an intelligence behind it. There's an art and a skill. But in social media terms, it can go too far. Look at Bonnie Blue. Deplatformed with some platforms. But hang on, what's Les said? King Po Chicken. Steady on, Les, what are you doing? Edmonds was a bell end and still is. Look at what he did to Deal or No Deal. Naff off. Stuart says, the video of Roger trying to say scum-sucking pond life and you laughing uncontrollably was the funniest thing I ever... I was in tears laughing. Loved it. Loved it. Because everything was real. It was authentic. It was unique. And every shock jock had his tribe, had his... I forgot the king, James Stanage. James Stanage was... you just didn't know what... The reason why you listened was because you didn't know what was coming out of his mouth. He would say anything, but it was within limitations. The audience didn't know that. And James, for me, is Scotty's brilliant, Tommy Boyd, James Whale, Alan Robson in the Northeast, and others are superb practitioners wonderful broadcasters. But for me, and it's just a personal opinion, James is the king. James Stanage. Because he was the first. And I talked to a program director. I won't mention the other broadcaster's name, but I spoke to a program director and he went, "Oh yeah, we got a recording of James Stanage saying, yeah, dippy tart, and other stuff, just enough to go to the line, but not over it." And he said, we said to this other broadcaster, you need to be more like that. So he took the kind of vibe of James Stanage and made it his own in another part of the country. But James was the original. He was in Manchester. He was out of London. But let's get back to Bonnie. And let's talk about these shock influencers. I mean, if you look at some of the influencers that are going on the streets and antagonizing people, that's the new version of a shock jock. That's a shock influencer. But I'm going to ask you for your votes. Are shock influencers a product of the system? Or are they personal choice? And as I mentioned Bonnie Blue tonight, I think that was personal choice. She's not a product of the system. She's monetizing it. That's personal choice. So are shock influencers a product of the system? 1, system driven. 2, personal choice. 3, well, both. 4, not sure. Are shock influencers a product of the system or a personal choice? Ooh, let's have a look. System driven, blimey, it's all ones. A little bit of personal choice with the Bad Wolf Project. But Cuban Pete and O'Rourke Heater and Stewart and Matt Whedon and Garen Davis, Reg D, all system driven. Neil Cunningham says, I just swiped past them. Lionel, a mixture. Napoleon blown apart, system driven. Jodie Nicholas believes it's personal choice. It's a real smorgasbord. Thank you to everyone that's voted. The Bad Wolf Project, money and flex. I mean, did you see the blue car? It was a real expensive car that she bought. She was making millions. It's a game chance for those with zero talent. There's a very, very good take on it. Because a lot of the guys that were doing late night radio and shock jockery, there was an art to it. And there was talent, intelligence, and technique to it. Sometimes, I mean, Robson was another king. He, people would call in because they didn't have anybody else to talk to. And Whale before him had some of the, I think there was one called something dancer, Star Dancer or something. I mean, I was only a teenager listening to it, and I was captivated by what was coming out of the radio. But these men and women, Alex, what's her face? Pat Fisher, real name. She dealt with whatever, and it was any subject at any time for 3 hours. Enver says, bit of both. Some take it too far, like Johnny Somali. In the field, for fuck's sake, fame. Mary Millington led the way. Jodie Nicholas. Yes, Alex Hall in the field. Yeah, that's not a real name. Pat Fisher's a real name. It's my PD, Brian Fisher, said, we'll call you Alex Hall. Great radio name. So keep voting. Are shock influencers a product of the system or personal choice? 1, system driven. 2, personal choice. 3, bit of both. 4, not sure. Rusty's Roaming says the old school late night jocks were intelligent because they needed to be able to converse on any subject. Lauren Taylor says, my niece is 20, beautiful. She finds it horrid. Cannot understand it. Have they no shame? No, they don't, because that's what they do. It's about you. It's like banks. Banks produce wealth from nothing, and influencers are producing money for nothing. Captain Pugwash. What's the main skill that the shock jock needs? Roger the cabin boy, Captain Pugwash. I'll leave it with you because you'll get what I've just said. No, it's not the gag. Quick thinking. I'll leave it with you, Captain Pugwash. Don't take me on. I'm trying to think. I want to do something very quickly, but thank you to everyone that. Oh yes, Annie. What shock jocks in the past could string thoughts together. Influencers cannot. And her blue Ferrari is leased. She doesn't own it, as do many influencers. There is a close circle of private collectors who loaned the cars out to influencers. Right, one last thing. I've got so much that I wanted to talk about tonight. We could have kept going until midnight easily. I want to talk about this driving test black market. So let me show you something small. Stop. But actually quite revealing. New rules are being brought in to stop learner drivers being scammed out of driving test slots. Now, that does sound administrative, boring even, until you start scratching the surface and you look even closer. Because what's been happening is this: driving tests that should cost £62 are being snapped up by bots and resold online for up to £500. 500. For the right simply to take a test you were already entitled to. So the system has responded. There's new rules being brought in. You can only change your booking twice instead of 6 times. Only learners, not instructors, can book or change tests. And you're limited to nearby test centres only. I think it's the 3 closest. Why? To stop automated systems hoovering up slots and flipping them for profit. And here's the thing. This isn't really about driving tests. This is about a pattern. Because once you see it, you start to see it everywhere. A system is created, fair, accessible, functional. Then someone finds a way to game it, scale it, monetize it. And then suddenly, what was once straightforward becomes a marketplace. And who pays the price? Not the system. Not the people exploiting it. The ordinary person trying to get on with their life. In this case, young people needing a license for work, for independence, for momentum. Instead, they hit a brick wall. Not because they failed, but because they couldn't even get a fair shot at the test. So the government has stepped in, is trying to close the loopholes, tighten the rules. And on one level you think, yeah, good, about time. But on another level, you realise something deeper. We're living in a world where every system eventually gets exploited. Don't get me on to concert tickets. Every gap eventually gets filled. Every fairness eventually gets priced until it's actively protected. And that's the tension, isn't it? Because the more rules you add, the more controlled things become. But the fewer rules you have, the more the sharpest operators take over. So this little story buried in a newspaper is actually a bigger question. Can we still build systems that are fair and keep them fair? Or does everything eventually turn into a marketplace? Because if it does, then life doesn't just get harder, it gets tilted, quietly, incrementally, until one day you realise you're not competing on ability anymore, you're competing on access. And that's when a £62 driving test becomes something much, much bigger. So again, I'm going to ask you for 1, yes, it's broken. 2, yes, but manageable. 3, no issues. 4, haven't tried. Here's the question. Final question tonight. Have you or someone you know struggled to get a fair driving test booking? I am. Have you or someone you know struggled to get a fair driving test booking? 1, yes, and the system's broken. 2, yes, managed, but it's manageable. 3, no issues at all, ever. 4, haven't really tried. I'm from Dublin and I'm only learning to drive at 48. I was recently sent home from a driving test because the strip on my insurance disc wasn't green enough. Bloody hell. Sorry to hear that, Orokida. Let me just do this while I look at your voting. I will get to your votes in just a second. So Orokida is 2, yes, but manageable. Cuban Pete and Albert Metcalf, yes. 4, Enver. Passed my test a few years ago. Brilliant, Enver. Annie Watt, 4. Fatal Racing Driver, 4. Matt Whedon, 2. Garen Davis, good luck. Going to find out soon. And Lewis, passed my test many moons ago. And Karina, 3. No issues. Passed my test in 1952. Blimey, Lion, what were you taking? Horse and cart. Sorry. Just being cheeky. We've moved through a lot tonight. Different stories, different tones, different parts of the world. But if you step back, they were all asking exactly the same thing. Meningitis. What's real and what's being amplified? The Beckhams. What's happening and what's being framed? Churchill. Who decides what we remember and what we let go? Shock influencer. What gets rewarded and what that creates? The driving test, whether systems still serve people or something else has crept in. And poor Banksy, whether everything needs to be known or some things lose meaning when they are. And politics, whether we're being informed or performed to. Different stories, one pattern. The tension between data and noise. And here's the truth. The noise isn't going anywhere. If anything, it's getting louder, faster, more sophisticated. So the question becomes not how do you stop it, but how do you stand within it without being pulled apart by it? And the answer is quieter than you think. You slow down. You ask better questions. You look for what's missing, not just what's being shown. Clarity in the chaos, and the presence of the unusual in the usual. You don't rush to react. You choose to understand, because clarity isn't given to you anymore. It's taken. Piece by piece, moment by moment. The ninjas have a phrase, ichi go ichi. Moment by moment. Baby steps. Choice by choice. And the people that can do that consistently, calmly, without being dragged into every headline, every outrage, every distraction, those are the people who stay steady while everything else moves. So tonight, if anything landed, let it be this. You don't have to chase every story. You just have to see it clearly. And once you do that, the noise loses its power and you keep yours. That's why the body of the Kirk is a community. That's why I ask your opinions on things. Next live is on Sunday, 7:15 to start, 7:30 the green light goes and we put our pedal to the metal. So my name's Adrian Allen. Thank you for your likes, your subscriptions, but most of all, your indulgence. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you for your continued support, young sir. Definitely a legendary Battenberger. Thank you for your likes, your subscriptions. I'll say it again because I truly appreciate it. Thank you for your indulgence. Be safe, stay well. Keep your emergency Battenberg on you at all times. A little altar wine just in case it gets cold and cool. And as I say on every live, this is live 302, Adrian Allen's Theatre of the Mind. But it's not really a live, it's a mission. And the mission is towards truth, from the pulpit of truth. Look after yourself, enjoy the next couple of days, and I'll see you Sunday for the live.